Good afternoon. It's noon exactly. I hear the bells ringing at the Campanile in Berkeley. My name is Greg Niemeyer. I'm so thrilled to welcome you to our lecture today about visual aesthetics. And this is part of the culture that the course that we're teaching called Visual Cultures, Aesthetics of the Digital, running this fall all the way until December. And there's going to be many more speakers in this series. But today, our speaker is Miriam Dym, and her main topic is going to be decisions and patterns. We're going to get into that in just a minute, but I want to do some housekeeping. I want to thank our sponsors, Arts and Design, Letters and Sciences, and Department of Art Practice, of course, and Paris Coates, who's helping us with the programming, and Edgar Frias and Hala Kadura, who are helping with the course itself. And there are many wonderful students who are working so hard to astonish us every week with their wonderful responses, creative responses to the lectures. Today, I wanted to introduce quickly the experiment of the week that we're doing. It is to create a pattern for a pillow. And the pattern for a pillow is inspired, of course, by Miriam's work, and it's inspired specifically by Miriam Dym's beautiful pillow that I was able to collect at one point. This is a pillow from her exhibit at the Brooklyn Art Museum in 2001, but over time it frayed a little bit because fabric is fragile, and so she very kindly restored it with a piece on the back that is a more recent piece from 2020, and so the pillow now is kind of a portable portfolio career art object of Miriam's work. To be more specific, I wanted to mention that Miriam Dym is a visual artist who likes to investigate systems and patterns of communication. Her inquiries range from the mildly lyrical, how can I make a fictitious map convincing, to the problem solving, how do I transform all of my household trash into new raw material. But her response always gives rise to nonsensical, absurd performances and uncertain objects. Over the last several years, while printing textiles, Dym has invented an analog system she calls decision fields. Through the actions of conscious agents, decision fields fosters the emergence of infinitely variable patterns on a plane. Decision fields incorporates, with neither judgment nor resistance, agent error, meaning the person who made a human error, directional recalibrations, and unruly actions. It can also be used as a communication game, and you can check that out at embodiedalgorithms.com. Dym's work has been featured at galleries and museums across the United States and abroad, including the Brooklyn Museum of Art and the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art, which has one of her pieces in its permanent collection. While we're doing the talk, please remember to write comments in the chat if you want, and also use the Q&A button to pose questions for the speaker that the speaker will answer at the very end. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Miriam Dym. Applause, wild Zoom applause. Woo, woo, woo. And we're switching over to Miriam. Thanks so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's such an honor to visit you in your studio, and I understand you prepared a whole bunch of slides and demonstrations for us. And anything we should add about this beautiful pillow that you made?
So technically that wasn't the pillow in the show. The embroidery on that one was one of the samples. It's just as good as the pillow in the show, but the pillow actually had a red fabric. So that actual object wasn't in a museum, I'm sorry to say, not yet.
Oh, this was I got the test pattern, okay, but I love it.
The test pattern, which, yeah. I don't know, somehow that seems appropriate to me.
Yes, in a way everything's a test pattern, isn't it?
In my universe.
Okay, well, thank you so much for contributing this. I think Edgar and Hala also brought a pillow just to honor your work and to reflect on it a little bit. So do you want to show yours quickly, Edgar? And can we spotlight Edgar?
Yes. Yeah, so I have this pillow that I've actually made myself. Oh, let me. And it features bananas and some frogs and then some like geometric designs. And so I made this pillow digitally, and then it got printed, and it's the same image on both sides.
Thank you. Hala, did you want to share your pattern as well?
I didn't make this pattern. I wish maybe one day, but this is, it's a gift from my cousin. It's Palestinian pattern, traditional Palestinian, and it's a gift from Qatar, actually, from my cousin who lives in Qatar.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And see, these are the ways in which we honor your work. And now we want to hear all from you, Miriam. Please bring it on.
Okay, hi. Thank you, Greg, so much for having me be here. And thanks to Paris for all the great support, and to Edgar and Hala for showing up. I really, like, your team is amazing, and I feel supported and kind of ready. I'm gonna share my screen. I'm gonna do that right now. Okay, can you see a slide?
Yes, we can see a slide, but
Okay, cool.
we're actually seeing your notes as well.
Oh, you are? That's no good.
Yeah, so I think you want to have a different one, but that's okay. Let's just share the screen where the slide looks all big.
There, can you see that?
Yes, and now you have to just, yeah, that works, because we have the tabs there. That's exactly what you wanted. That's perfect.
You see notes now or no?
No, no notes, just the tabs.
Super, okay, great.
Well, cool.
All right, here I go. Everybody ready? Thanks. So my talk is called Intention and Accident, and intention and accident, they appear in what I'm working on, but I'm not really going to address them that much directly. You can hear those ideas percolate through my project. The project, as Greg mentioned in the introduction, what I'm working with is something I've named decision fields, and it deals with emergent patterns and a game. And then at the very end, I tag on some science fiction, because that's, well, that's kind of where I'm headed. I don't know how realistic it is. So to start, I'd like to actually ask everyone to follow me in a brief visualization, which is called sidewalk. If you want, you could close your eyes to get the full effect. What I'm going to ask everybody to do is to imagine that you're on a sidewalk, and the sidewalk, it's a specific sidewalk. It's got 2 squares across and any number of squares ahead of you. And at first you're not really paying attention to the sidewalk because it's just a sidewalk. But then as you move along the sidewalk, you start to notice things about it. One of the squares isn't actually the same gray and mottled color. It's actually a much lighter color, as though someone replaced some cement. And then a little farther along, there's a whole section of sidewalk that's like completely cracked, and it's been cracked for a long time. You can see that because there's some grass growing in a few of the cracks. And so you imagine, tell a story, or maybe a truck backed over here, and you go a little farther, and next, the sidewalk is pretty regular, but there's an imprint of words. It has someone's name and the date, 1979, and so you're making meaning that someone actually replaced this part of the sidewalk over here. And a little farther, the sidewalk has a little curvy indent, and you see that that indent is where a tree, they've cut the sidewalk so the tree has more space for its roots. And so the sidewalk is both regular and it's irregular. And you go just a little farther and you're almost at the curb, and you notice there's a utility cover in the sidewalk, and it's really enriched with a pattern. It's cast metal. It's probably been there 75 years, and it's inset in a square of cement, but that square of cement is tilted to the rest of the grid of the sidewalk. And somehow, because you're really noticing the sidewalk, that's surprising. I wonder why they did that. And then just beyond is the curb, and we're gonna stop at the curb, but not until we notice that the curb is painted red, and there's some Roman numerals engraved in the curb. Okay, you can open your eyes now. So what is that? So for me, a sidewalk, what?
That was a poem. That was so beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So for me, what a sidewalk is a decision field. It's a place where all sorts of decisions have been made, both intentional of, oh, I'm going to replace this crack, and unintentional, oh, I'm going to put some cracks here by backing up my huge trucks. And there's a record, and the record it's changing over time, but it's always like the version that we can see, we can make meaning of. And so I tend to walk along the sidewalk, and I think about them, in relation to the project that I've been working on for the last several years. So my talk has 3 parts, and they're kind of interwoven, and I'm going to try to hit them all, and I may or may not succeed. There's the content, which is what my project is, decision fields. There's the backstory, which is where this project, how it emerged, where it came from. And then there's a kind of meta story, which is my psychic state in doing this work, a lot of which has felt really a little unhinging, like I don't know what I'm doing, and so I don't know how to communicate about it. Sort of the backstory of me as an artist, I've done a whole bunch of things. I was a painter, I did installations, which is where Greg's pillow came from. I had a big uncertain period where I did a bunch of drawing and tried to make things and didn't know what I was doing. And then in 2006, I started a project that turned out to go for 6 years, where I harvested all of my trash, and tried to process it into raw material. And it was a sprawling, messy project. Let's see if I can get, yeah. That culminated not slightly before it ended. Let me see if I can make this work. You can have a really boring picture. This is, okay, here we go. So in processing and trying to process all my garbage, I basically didn't understand that I couldn't solve the world's garbage problem by harvesting my own trash. But I did get up close and personal with the garbage. So this is me sorting garbage for 1 year, 1 year's worth of unrecyclable garbage. Okay, that's enough of that. You're seeing the slide again?
Yep, all good.
So in the background, I don't know if you can hear noise. I have a dog in the room with me. I asked her to leave, but she insisted on coming back, and she's tracking the squirrel from one window to the other. So if you hear kind of weird scrabbling noises, that's the dog wanting to eat a squirrel. Anyway, so the garbage project, what I didn't realize at the time and why the project was actually challenging for me to share was the thing that I was doing was I was actually working on a sprawling system, and the individual acts and the things that I made didn't really matter. It was the system. And had I figured out how to articulate that at the time, I think I would have felt more satisfied with that project. I went immediately, I kind of let that project end in 2011, 2012. It petered off because I didn't know how to resolve it. There was no resolving it because I couldn't solve the problem I wanted to solve. And I immediately counterintuitively started another project. And this project was to found a business block printing textiles here in Berkeley. And it's counterintuitive in a couple of ways. Why did I end my garbage project and go into textile production? And I had all sorts of reasons for that. Partly that I thought it would be interesting to try slow production, slow manufacturing. That was a counter move to garbage production. And also because I thought I could make money, selling textile designs in a way where I could control how they were produced. And I was all excited about it, and I invested in all these wooden blocks. I'm gonna stop screen sharing for a second. So the wooden blocks, like here's one right here. They're made of hardwood, and they've got end grain, and they're kind of complicated objects. And where am I going? Can you see the screen again?
Now we see the slides again.
You see the slides?
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Do you want to show us your video from your other camera?
No, not yet.
Okay. We're on the slides again then. We're all good.
Cool, thanks. So one thing I liked about block printing is that it's so block printing is a textile technique for applying pattern to the surface of cloth. And it's done by putting dye, thickened dye on those blocks, like a block like I showed you, and putting it on cloth in such a way that the dye doesn't wash out. It's done traditionally in India and also in Japan. And I had this idea that I was going to do a contemporary version, my version, with my own specific designs. And I was excited about it because somehow instinctively I knew that I wanted to work with modular patterns. The patterns build up from individual blocks. And so here, my assistant, Hannah Levy, who is in a quiet way a big part of my story, she's making a pattern out of words, the words stand and with. And all in the beginning of my textile business, I was all excited about these word patterns and these really weird shape patterns. but after about 1.5 years, 2 years, I realized those weren't going anywhere, and they just weren't sexy enough to sell. And I stumbled into lines, into stripes. And it was a kind of one of those, again, it was like I'm stumbling along with intuition and in the weeds of the business. And suddenly I realized I have these stripy blocks, each with a different pattern of stripe on them. And I'll show you those in a little bit, but they could be used in these different ways. It was a kind of great revelation to me. This picture is sideways, by the way, so you could see the whole fabric. And I don't know, there's something important about a cat defying gravity to me. Anyway, it seems really dorky now, but it was like an incredible revelation, because I'm a person who really likes stripes, and a stripe runs from one end of the fabric to the other, or one side of the fabric to the other, and that's what a stripe does. And that with my modular blocks, I one day realized, oh, I can rotate the stripe 90 degrees to the other stripe and have a counter stripe. And somehow that was, it was super powerful for me. And on this piece of cloth, I realized there were sections of horizontal stripes, and horizontal when the slide is tilted. Those sections could be whatever width I wanted to be. So I took the modularity of the individual block and I increased it to be, so that the pattern I was creating was for the pattern itself, in a way, was modular. And in a piece like this, which was fairly early, 2014, I think, I took the 90 degrees thing to a pretty far extreme to see what could happen. So something to me that's notable about this piece is my hands didn't touch it. This was all Hannah Levy printing it. And she printed it according to my very loose instructions. And what I relied on her for was not only her capacity to improvise and to like work with a loose instruction and make something of it, which I think comes from her jazz musicianship, but also her communication feedback with me, so that my loose instruction became an opportunity to find out actually what was a bearable loose instruction, what was empowering, what could give her freedom to exercise within that, and what would stymie her or just burden her with too many decisions. And I learned something fascinating about having an employee. I wanted my employee to be, in a way, to be my collaborator, but I also had to learn that it was my job to protect her energy. Like, I couldn't ask her to do any super complicated thing, because she was coming into my workshop to do her job, not to exhaust herself. And that was like, there was this weird thing, but we had this feedback loop that would evolve. And then I had a third employee named River, who came along much later and who had very different capacities from Hannah. And so among the three of us, there were all these communications flying around. There were words, there were notes, there were sketches, there were examples of things that we'd done already. And then there were like these crazy little trials I'd set up, like do a basket weave and see what happens when it meets the stripe. So what is a pattern? I'm just going to interrupt that and just, so patterns for me, they come from different places. So I'm talking about a pattern and I'm talking about how they form, but unless we have a shared vocabulary or intention, I think it's a little confusing. So there's patterns like decorative patterns like wallpaper and whatnot. And there's amazing patterns. Yeah, like Islamic tile has some of the most amazing pattern ever. And these hexagons, the hexagons are tessellating, which means it's the same shape interlocking over and over again. And then the center medallion is a rotational repeat pattern, and it's got things that, you know, I can't quite tell on the slide. Yeah, the turquoise and the white scroll work interweave each other. Islamic tile has the amazing feature of like these repeat patterns that integrate with the architecture. Yeah, if you ever, I don't know if there's anything like this in this country. If you ever get a chance to go to the Alhambra where I've been, I haven't been to Marrakesh, but mind blowing. Okay. And then there are other patterns. So another famous way of looking at patterns is periodic tiling. Again, regular periodic tiling is like if you're making a pattern in Illustrator, whatever fancy design you make, it basically gets Illustrator, pops it into a box, and then repeats it in a grid. So Illustrator, which is kind of the world I was in deeply, really constrains the kind of imaginatory pattern making. You have to hack Illustrator or do it slowly by hand to get something interesting. I just want to touch on Roger Penrose. He's famous for this aperiodic tiling, whether he discovered it or just really named it and figured out the math around it. So you can see that something is happening that's, it's like the same things are going on over and over and over again, but what doesn't happen in this is you can't ever take a chunk of it and move it over and have it repeat again. It has aperiodicity. And I'm sorry, my math explanations are weak. I tend to parse things visually, and then to have language around it is a completely other skill, which, you know, I'm working on. Okay, so there's decorative patterns. So the other thing is, like, you probably all have a list of your own patterns in a way, and if you want to write them down ahead of time, you can surprise us. I'm missing some. These are the ones I think that I'm tracking in my universe. So there's growth patterns, and growth patterns are whatever, tree rings are growth patterns, and maybe you've seen these. I love these. They're the insides of fruits and vegetables run through an MRI machine, and it's a way of showing a growth pattern. And then the next pattern on my list are algorithmic or generative patterns. Now, there are tons of artists who use these now, and they often use computers, and they use, they code or whatnot. But I like to refer to an early algorithmic artist, Sol LeWitt, who would make an instruction of how to do a drawing. And if you agreed to actually do the drawing according to the instruction, then you could own the drawing as this. And here is an example of not that instruction, mass mocha. That's a wall drawing that was made by collaborators to the no longer living Sol LeWitt. And then one other type of pattern I'm going to mention, I'm not going to click the link, is data patterns, patterns emerging from data. And you're all familiar with that. This link, which I'm not going to click on, sorry, is really beautiful, but I can copy paste the link, I think. No, anyway, I'll send it at the end if you want. It shows the coronavirus spread in an active animation, and it's really exciting to watch. And so all of these types of patterns, I've been thinking about it, and I'm like, no, that's not what I'm doing. And I'm not motivated to make my work by trying to design something that looks good in someone's house, although that is what I set up a business to do. And as time went on, I noticed more and more, all of my attention was focused on not only what my patterns were doing on the cloth and these interactions with Hannah and River, but trying to articulate that my patterns were doing something other than maybe those list of patterns, and they especially weren't just decorative tessellating patterns. And I couldn't get anybody to understand me. I think I just didn't have the language around it, and I didn't know how to make an example of it. And that feeling of not knowing how to explain, but really being convinced that I was doing something, that feeling was actually like being in an ice cold lake, in the water with a sheet of ice over me, because I would just try to explain, and I would get these blank looks. And it was partly because I didn't understand exactly what I was doing. At a certain point, I figured it out a little bit. And that thing that I was doing is a pattern that comes from decisions. It's driven by an agent. In this case, because everything is super analog, the agent is a person. Like, the agent's not a robot or an AI, it's a person, and it's a person interacting with this pattern system. And this idea about decisions actually came to me kind of late. I thought my work was just, it was an algorithm, it was generative, but it was doing something other than just responding to these algorithms. Here's just an example of a piece of fabric. Again, this is one the brilliant Hannah Levy printed. I wish she were here today. Maybe she is. So in a way, this was like, this is more related to silhouette. What is the instruction? Make a bunch of stripes that go in the same direction. But wait, Hannah, have some agency. You get to decide what color comes next. You get to decide which lines change. You get to decide if there's blank spaces or not. You get to decide which colors to overlay and which colors not. So there were constraints and freedom. And this was one of the fabrics to me that I'm like, oh, weird, it looks like code. So a lot of artists use this idea of decision fields. Painters, there are certain kinds of painters where every mark they make on the canvas or wherever they're painting is a decision. The Impressionists certainly worked that way, or there would be clusters of decisions. Dancers work this way, musicians work this way. So this is a thing that, and probably other, in other fields, people, linguistics, I bet linguistics is a place. I don't really know. It's not my field, but I could imagine. So why am I so excited about my version of decision fields? Well, some of it is just like this sense, like this urgency, like it's true, I have to act on it, like my intuition. But then there's this other stuff that's happening. Like I think in my decision fields, like it's like codifiable. Like I can track things because of the way my individual models are. And because it's codifiable, it has a kind of responsiveness that's surprising. And it embraces this possibility, this like shape of rules and not rules. And then there's this kind of internal bodily thing, which is like, if you're doing it right, it fosters attention and autonomy, like agency. Like the idea of an agent is really important to me. Can I decide? So I also like to read math papers. So that's just like a thing. So here I am, I'm excited about my decision fields and I'm still not getting through to people. And so after banging my head on the wall a bunch of times, I have a little bruise, no, I'm just kidding. I finally had I don't know where it came from. I was like, oh, if I can teach people how to do this, maybe they'll understand what I'm talking about. Because you have to remember, I was like, I'm in my studio with my assistant or not with my assistant, and then closing my business because I don't want to make textiles anymore, but I don't know how to talk about this. And then I decide to make a workshop. So I invented this workshop, which I call Embodied Algorithms. I guess it's just a website. It looks like this. And the workshop was actually designed not to really get people to understand how codifiable my patterns were or whatnot, but it was a way of transposing pattern interaction onto human behavior. So my pattern runs into your pattern. So that's what that is. And just the idea of naming a workshop, like inventing a workshop, allowed me to kind of emerge from under my ice cap. And now I'm stumbling across the ice and I've landed somewhere. I'm like on some snowy terrain and I'm heading for the village. That's what it felt like. There was a kind of release in me. The Embodied Algorithms workshop is, it's a little bit on hold because of COVID. It requires humans to work together in the same space and fairly close proximity. So that's kind of a bummer because I got to Embodied Algorithms in February, I think, and well, it's still there. So I'm just going to explain some of the properties that are like the specific properties. I've hit on them already a little bit, but just so, right, I lost my place for a second. Whew. Okay, so in general, these patterns or this behaviors, decision fields, what's going on is there's compositionality. You can compose. There's responsiveness. One thing responds to another, both on the level of each piece and across a pattern. And it's the way I've set it up, it's collaborative, it's non-competitive. There's definitely a way to do this competitively. And I am not interested in that. I think there's enough competition. I'm interested to see what people can do to learn from each other. Now we're going to switch to hands. I will stop screen sharing. there's the hand camera. Cool. So the first thing is there are these modules, and I have different versions. I have the wood ones. Can you see that? There we go.
Yes, I just want to explain that this is happening live right now, right?
Yeah, right. This is not a video. This is my actual hands. So it's a little awkward because it's hard for me to see what I'm doing. Anyway, so they're the individual segments, and it's still based on this crazy idea that an infinite line is made up of n number of segments. So with the little rubber stamps, it's easier to see. Here's a version of, I don't know, none of these is exactly right. It goes chick, 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 chick. Oh, look, it's dirty. Okay, so there's that. Then, okay, so, right, so infinite stripes. The idea is that there's no such thing as like a kind of free particle. If you're gonna put down a segment, it's got to continue going in a line unless something interrupts it. That's just a hard and fast rule. So the next thing is a line has to connect to something. So it connects to itself in a segment, or it can connect to something else that interrupts it. And then the next thing is, and this is something that surprised me, like I need a vocabulary. So if without a vocabulary, there's kind of arbitrary decision making. There's a kind of vocabulary sheet from my printing for customers. This is, everything had a name. There's lattices, there's this kind of lattice, and there's this kind of lattice, and they come in different colors. And there's all the basket weaves, and this pattern is called enmesh. And then there's other versions, like if I were giving a workshop, I might show something like this, because it allows someone to see what the pattern is made of, and also that there's a mistake right there in the middle. A basket weave is just alternating these two and then alternating on the next line. So there's a vocabulary to start with. And then the final thing that someone might need is they might need some way of responding. What am I doing with this pattern? So a pattern is these patterns are very abstract. So they might want a prompt to help them locate themselves emotionally. And so I made word prompts. And to me, these patterns, they're like little creatures. Let's just give it some. And so one pattern meets another pattern, or one segment meets another segment, and it has an opinion about what's happening. Let's see, yeah, okay. So I'm gonna go back to screen sharing.
That's good. We got.
So that's just there's a version. What?
That's good. We got your slides back. This is great.
Okay, good. So
oh, but we don't see you. We see the phone still there. Now we see you too. Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So a decision field. What's a field? A field is just a plane. It continues in any direction. The patterns might build up in a cluster in one part and then another. And then they meet each other at a certain point, which requires a whole bunch of other decisions. It's interesting, like I've kind of lost track of all of you out there, and so I don't know if this is making any sense to people. So another way to think about this is to see a time lapse of these patterns unfolding. A little slow. There we go. So, as I said before, everything that goes down is a decision. And in the moment, it's arbitrary. And the purpose of this piece was for me to show different things interacting with each other. Those little pieces of paper floating on the surface, that kind of right there, I moved it. It's a mask, so I can give the illusion of a line running under or over another line. Okay. So back on the slides, yes.
Miriam, just to let you know in the chat, most people are confirming that this makes plenty of sense. And
okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So intricate, so rich, so complex.
Okay. Can I have the hands for a sec? So if you look at this, this is the thing that I was just printing in that time lapse, and I would have loved to do this live for you, but it's actually painstakingly slow. So I didn't want to spend half an hour of my talk, and I'm not, you know, it'd be cool to perform this and talk at the same time, but I haven't quite gotten that skill. So I just want to show you a couple of things that to me, like when I work with this, I'm noticing these things, and if you were to come play with me, you might notice them too, and they might be like, oh no, I'm doing it wrong, or there's something amiss, but it's actually like, it's what it is. So there's this part here. Can you see that? We're on hands. Oh, do I have to stop screen sharing? Okay, thank you, Paris. So right here, this part is like, it's overlapping, but this part's not overlapping.
You have to pull that down a little bit. Your point, it's at the top edge. Yeah, pull it down. There you go. That's perfect. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So this guy here, so it's overlapping. Was that a mistake or a decision? There's, let's see, yeah, right here. So you can see right here that it's disjunct, and it's because this little icon got rotated 180 degrees over there, and it's simply a mark of, so I could call that a mistake, but to me it's like a mark of a decision, whether it's an intentional decision or not. There's bits of like the die. This is me now going a little crazy with my project, but the die doesn't completely arrive here, and it's a way of saying, oh, I didn't fully press in, so like all the information isn't there. So this little decision field thing, I'm going to share my screen again, is packed with all of that for me. So because I was doing this as a textile business, there's a kind of rupture for me. So the piece on the left, that was made to be a decorative textile, and the piece on the right started out that way and then became rays of light or something. I don't think I'm going to show you the time lapse. It's on Vimeo. You can look me up. On Vimeo, I have a different name. No, it's Miriam. No, I'm Miriam Dym on Vimeo. On YouTube, I have a different name. So it's just, this is, to me, it's just an example of like, oh, I can play it straight and keep it really controlled, or I can have it be kind of crazy. And it brings me to the question is like, what's my agency? Who has agency? What does that even mean? And we're surrounded now by robots, which with varying amounts of agency. Most of our robots don't have much agency, as far as I can tell. They're limited in their capacity, but the ones with decision-making capacities, I mean, I don't know anything about AI, so, you know, this is dangerous territory for me, but I think about it, right? We're surrounded. There's just an example. Slow. I think about agency also because our habits, in a way, get in the way of us having agency. They make it possible, like routine and habit make it possible for us to function. If we had to decide about every little thing we do, it just becomes exhausting. In my experience, like when I've lived in foreign countries, just getting set up to go grocery shopping and get to work is exhausting because I have to learn everything and my habits are all messed up. So it's important to have habit and routine. There's now a dog walking by the window. My dog might start barking. So robots are getting to the point where they'll have more agency and they can decide. And this brings us to science fiction. Do you hear my dog growling?
Yep.
Yeah, she's doing a good job.
Here.
She's not barking, which is nice. So science fiction. This is almost the end of my talk, everybody. So science fiction. So in my crazy world, I went to listen to a tutorial about category theory, and that was just exciting that I allowed myself to do that. I don't have any math background, and I'm interested in it. And I'm at this tutorial, and the instructor's talking about graphical calculi, and I started digging into that, and it turns out there's this whole way of doing math which is strictly visual. It's like you solve the problems not with formulas, but with visual icons. And it's just like, it just builds in my head like a little explosion. So science fiction, why am I doing this? I don't know, maybe it's just a silly game. But I like to think it's, yeah, I want it to be something else. And so, because it isn't anything else yet, because I'm not a computer scientist, I'm not a mathematician, not a psychologist, not even a systems thinker, although I think I am. So I've just decided that I'll just pretend it's science fiction. These are the things I want this system to be. I want it to be a tool or a map that lays onto existing systems. It kind of brings me back to garbage. Like, why couldn't I solve garbage? I don't know. Here's a thing. I'll use my pattern tool to solve the garbage problem. Anyway, so that's one science fiction possibility. You know, how might patterns and information flow through time and space? So here's my graphical calculus idea. I want this thing to be a graphical calculus. If you like math at all and you're a visual person, you might want to visit graphicallinearalgebra.net. It is so much fun to read, I can't even tell you. But the thing is, these little guys, these string diagrams, you can do math with a string diagram. You can actually do math. Isn't that cool? I love it. That's chapter 10, that's as far as I am. I think it's got 37 chapters. And then, I think I mentioned this before, like to me, this stuff looks like code. Code for what? I don't know, code for Miriam's mind. Yeah, so could it be, sorry, why is it flipping so much? Little twitchy fingers. Okay, right. So I have this fantasy. So now it's like, I'm from another planet. I'm from planet Q. And on my planet, we do our computing, not with zeros and ones and not with flat static computers. We do our computing in these vast planes, and we use in our entire bodies. We're like dancers, and we interact with one another, and we interact with the code with our bodies. So why not? I can have that science fiction projection. I've read Ursula K. Le Guin. Have you? Hanish? Anybody? Okay. And that's where I am with this. So mostly it's a game, and it's also a system, and it's also a way of thinking about sidewalks. Thank you very much.
Bravo, thank you so much. This is a beautiful talk and a beautiful demonstration. Many people are commenting, saying thank you, and Ken is there and says, thank you, Miriam. I'm curious to hear more about your thoughts about robots and patterns. And so you have a lot, we'll send you all these comments, of course. There's a lot of clapping going on as well. Beautiful. So in terms of science fiction, Miriam, I'm going to ask one quick question, and I'm going to hand it over to Hala and Edgar for more questions. In terms of science fiction, what would a world look like in which people think about their decisions as thoroughly and deeply as you think about your pattern decisions?
Oh, yeah, that would be useful. I mean, in order to think about a decision, there's like a kind of trick to it, because our minds are really good at generating stories, and some of them are patently false, but we believe them. I'm a victim of that myself. I like to generate a story and then believe it. So just getting good at, I mean, I don't know what that would be. Like, there's so many steps before that, I think.
That's true. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So let's turn it off. I think you can stop sharing your slides now,
yeah,
so we can see you again.
My screen, and you can just see me.
Beautiful. And so who's going first, Hala or Edgar? Who is starting with the questions?
I can start.
Great.
Miriam, thank you so much. I was texting Edgar, we're like, we can't wait to go to the studio and start like working with our hands and getting messy. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, the first question is from our student, and her name is Alyssa Desai. Her question is, your connection between block printing and capitalism is really interesting. Do you think a capitalist economy discourages slower handmade process like this? Or does the rarity of such works make your work more valuable?
Well, so both of those are true. It's not so much capitalism, it's, late stage capitalism where there's no restrictions on, and it's just, yeah, there's no restrictions. Sorry, I'm a little out of it right now. But it's also, we're living in a world where we are capable of producing so much so quickly that, sure, there's always going to be a market for rarefied, expensive things, but it doesn't actually impact or have any meaning in terms of like moral value. And so it's a little heartbreaking, actually. It's just like, that's what happened to me. I don't really want to make anything anymore now that I can't get out of my mind that art collectors actually build warehouses for their art collections because they have so much of it. I mean, it's just the scale. There's so many of us and we make so much so readily. I strongly recommend, if you haven't read the science fiction story Autofac by Philip K. Dick. It's a little depressing, and you have to, it's about robots that make endlessly, and we've kind of become that. So it's partly capitalism, and it's partly the form of capitalism we currently have. Okay, I don't know if that answered your question.
It does. Alyssa's question.
Thank you.
But thank you so much, Miriam. I'm gonna,
Yeah.
sorry?
Yeah.
Amazing. I'm gonna hand it over to Edgar.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Miriam. That has been so inspirational, as Hala has said. I have a question from someone who's here in the audience. Her name is Noah August, and they have a question that they'd like to share. If we can unmute him.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. So I was kind of curious, like before you start, can you see like the entire image from like the lines that you're actually working with, or do you kind of just does it come to you as you put the lines?
Oh, behind me, or?
No, just in general.
So right. I don't. Yeah. So the process is very much not seeing the whole image, not knowing, and having. The hardest part for me in a way is like, I have to make a decision at the beginning to start with something. Where am I going? And in some ways it was really helpful to have, oh, I have a client who needs a piece of cloth. I need to start with that. But it evolves as I work. If I don't have a client and a specific thing to do, I don't know anything, and I make decisions as I go. And it's why I really love this way of doing things, because it's my favorite thing to not know and to get surprised either by myself or other people. And it's also, I'll just add, it's like, it's continually surprising to me that this work is still surprising to me, even though I've been now doing it for a while. I'm like, oh, that's true. Oh, weird. So like, that's why I'm still doing it, because it keeps feeding me. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for speaking with us.
Yeah, thanks for the question. Thanks for all the questions. I appreciate that you're engaged. It's really exciting.
Yeah, and I really love, Miriam, the joy that you have in process. I really can feel it.
Thanks.
We have another question from our student Julie Show, and this is a question I'm also like always thinking about it. What are some differences you notice about making decisions using an analog system versus using a digital system? And what values does the analog system bring that the digital system lacks?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that question. So one of the reasons I wanted to do textiles, and this was before I knew I was doing this crazy system, is I had gotten frustrated with working with making designs on a computer, and it was because even with like a stylus or whatnot, it's pretty constrained in the body, and my body informs me, right? And the full, I feel fortunate that like all my limbs work and I engage with them, but even if they didn't, whatever limbs work, I want to use all of them. And so it actually kind of blew me away to find out that how I thought and why I thought just shifted radically when I was using physical embodied tools. And maybe VR will get to the point where like we can use our whole bodies and have like VR, we can use our whole bodies, but the field information, like what's going on around us is pretty slim right now. And as I get really obsessive about like how much block, you know, how much it like prints and like whether it's a clean print and that's information. I can't get that on a computer. And so the materiality is just too rich to give up. And hence my desire. The computers are useful, right? So maybe they could be different, so they could be richer, and like they could be part of a feedback system that actually helped us rather than constraining us in this like my posture's so bad. Anyway, yeah. Did that answer your question? I love that question now.
Yeah, thank you so much. And it's like my body informs me. That really stuck with me. So
yeah.
Thank you. Especially now with COVID, you need to move more because you're always stuck on the laptop. So thank you so much.
Thank you. So the next question we have here is also from one of our students. His name is Dominic Masoto, and he wants to know, where did you develop your foundation in systems thinking, and how has that inspired your artwork?
So it just emerged. So that's the thing. I'm a mystery to myself. And maybe if I'd been pushed by my parents in a certain way, I wouldn't even be an artist. I'd be an engineer. But my parents were both engineers and they both really complained about it. So it never crossed my mind it might be fun to be an engineer. And now I feel kind of resentful because I think, you know, now I know some engineers who like totally like they play and they're creative and it's fantastic, but that was not my experience. I had very grumpy engineer parents. So I think I just inherited it, and it took me by surprise to realize that's what I do. Like I think in systems, I care about it. So with the garbage project, I actually, in hindsight, I can see that's what I was doing. And with this project, it kind of emerged with me. I think what happened is I just like, why is this project taking so long? And it's because that's what a system is. It's something that takes a long, like for me, a complex system, it takes a long time to unfold. So yeah, self-taught, it's emergent. It's emergent. That's my favorite word.
I love that word too. Emergent is a very powerful word, and I definitely feel like that emergent energy is guiding what you do, right? In some ways. Yeah, thank you.
I love the questions. The students are awake.
They're really, they were so excited for you to come and give this lecture. We have a question from the audience, and it's about, because you were talking about the garbage project. So is Meredith still with us?
Meredith Trumbull.
Yes.
Oh, she's there.
Yep.
Hi, Meredith.
You can speak now, Meredith.
Okay, thank you for giving me voice. So I was curious, you mentioned at least thinking about applying this technique that you have developed around the decision fields to the garbage project. And I was really curious, like even in thought, even if you haven't tried it yet, what had you imagined, how had you imagined you might start, or how that would work?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So I have a kind of schematic in my head, and as I was thinking about describing it, I got a little like ache. And what I think, sure, I could start, but what I need, Meredith, is I need colleagues, because like that problem, that project, one of the reasons it was flawed was it was all on me to solve it. And so I can schematically imagine like, okay, I'm continuing this, starting a pattern like on a piece of paper, like you might sketch. And it's like the same pattern, right? It just keeps going and going, because that's what we're doing with garbage. We're just doing the same thing over and over, actually more packaging, more waste. And then I would just change, I would assign, I guess, variables to each of those pattern pieces. And then I would start changing them out and see what happened. I mean, it seems a little, whatever, hand wavy. I don't really know. Like, I think I need more people to figure that out. Do you want to help me?
Yeah, let's do it. We'll get a class and go.
Yeah. So like that, right? Like,
yeah.
So it's just, so in that sense, it's just a tool, but if I invented the tool, I may not be the best, you know, like maybe I'm not the best at that. Like, I think I'd love to know if I could teach this to people who have vastly different and very, you know, deep bodies of knowledge that are not mine. Can they use this? And I don't know, the answer might be no. But
Yeah.
it would be fun to play with it, right? Because like, what's the worst that would happen? You'd have fun making patterns.
Yeah, maybe there's some people in the class now that want to do it. You might get it.
Okay.
Volunteers. Okay.
Thank you, Meredith. Do we have another question, Hala?
Yeah, we do have another question from someone in the audience also.
It's probably going to be the last one, though. Yes, who's that person?
Yeah, Amanda Neslund.
Yes. Amanda, you're live.
So my question was basically just like, now that you found your vocabulary a little better, how would you recommend to like other artists like trying to figure out vocabulary in their art that like isn't traditional? Like what advice would you give back to yourself for like artists now?
Yeah, so thank you for that question. Like, that's a scary question, like, ooh. But it's good. It's a good, scary, brave question. And I think what I noticed happened with me is when I followed what I wanted to do, even though it absolutely made no sense. Like, for years of my life, I couldn't understand why I was doing what I was doing. Like, and as I said a couple times at least, I couldn't really explain to anybody why I was doing what I was doing or what I was doing. And it's that thing of just knowing that I was doing it anyway. Like, that's what I was doing. That's who I was right then. And so it's doing whatever practices you might, so they're practices, right, for self-awareness and self-knowledge, and not the self-knowledge of like, this is the field I should study, but like, what captures your attention? What makes you curious? What do you find yourself doing? And then pursue that. Pursue what you were doing, and then check back in with yourself. So it's like, where do you put your attention? Inside, outside, inside, outside. So, yeah, but you can't. So what's interesting, I think, I'm guessing, is other people, you can't really know yourself so well, but you can know yourself somewhat in hindsight and tracking what you've been up to, and then also where your attention is going. And then really invest in your own truths, because everybody's truth, like, we're all actually kind of special. So
I think that is a wonderful line to wrap the talk up with. Invest in your own truth. That is such a beautiful thing, and especially beautiful because you put it into practice, and it's very convincing the way you made it work. So thank you so much again. I'm going to say, let's have a round of applause for Miriam Dym. It was really fabulous to be with you. What a generous hour, and what an inspiring hour here. And thanks so much for joining us, everybody. I want to switch back to my slides quickly and just mention that our next talk is going to be with Jason Lazarus, and that is going to be about the aesthetics of protest. And that, of course, is going to be on October 1st at noon. If you want to register for it, please go to the Arts and Design Thursdays website. You can just go Berkeley Arts and Design Thursdays. It's also on BAM-PFA. And I also want to thank BAM-PFA again for helping us host this fabulous event. And Miriam, today, for inspiring us all with your beautiful work, and Hala and Edgar for managing the course and bringing all these questions up, and Paris again for making sure everything goes smoothly and scheduling everything out. It did go smoothly. It was a great time. Thanks so much for joining us. Take care. Have a good afternoon, and hope to see you again next week. Bye-bye. Take care.
bye.
All right, and so here we can just say leave and stop, and very unceremoniously say goodbye.
Wait,
but there's so many comments and so many thank yous. It's been really fabulous. We'll send you the chat as well. Thanks for writing in the
Q&A?
chat.
You'll send me the Q&A? Do I need to?
Yes, we'll send you that too, yes.
Okay, thank you so much, you all. Bye.
Bye.